next exercise is the out of sight and freight load is one exercise. All the dogs are harnessed and hitched with nothing in their cart. You leave them, there's up to 6 can be in a group. You leave your dogs in any position you want, stand, sit down, and all the handlers go out of sight for 3 minutes. There are stewards assigned behind each cart, so if something happens, there is someone there for safety. But all the dogs are left together like along sitting down, but the handlers are out of sight and the dogs are hitched to their cart. They can change position, they can go from a sit to a down to a sit, and that's fine, they just can't move the cart out of position. They can't get up, walk forward, and then sit down. That would have moved the cart out of position. But they can change the position without moving the cart. You return to them, and then the judges watch you load whatever you have for freight that day. Depending on the type of apparatus you're using, there are different weight limits. A cart like this is 25 to 50 pounds for a 2-wheel cart. That's what the Newfoundland and St. Bernard rules have. If you're using a sled, it's about 15 pounds for a sled type apparatus. The travois that has a lot of drag is like only 5 pounds, but the drag adds a lot of friction. So, if you have a team, 2 dogs pulling the same cart, all the weights would be doubled. But most people will go with a 25-pound weight with a 2-wheel cart. The very popular thing now is to put a spindle up in the middle of your cart and get a 25-pound weight from a barbell set and just put it over the spindle, screw on a top nut, and you're done. They know it's 25 pounds, you know, printed right on it, or a 25-pound bag of dog food or bird seed, something that has 25 pounds written right on it makes it much easier. They do have to weigh other items that aren't marked with, like if I were to use that jug full of water, it doesn't say that's 25 pounds, that would have to be weighed that day. But they want to have 25 pounds. And then you need to secure it in some way to your cart. And you know, you might get bumps, you have uphill and downhill, you want to secure it real good. And the judge, at that point, the judges will witness you load your freight and strap it in, and they check the weight, and then they also check how snug it is. They want to see that it's good and snug and it's not going to slide around. At that point, the 6 dogs that have just done that exercise go out on their mile freight haul. And it's all off leash, all under voice control, 6 dogs going through the woods. Each cart is assigned a steward. So if you have a problem, you can stop and say, the steward, would you please get the judge, or would you tell the judge I have this problem, or something like that. The steward is there to assist you, but you can't give them direction. Only the judge can give them direction.
It's a fixed mile?
It's a mile. Yeah, occasionally it might be a little more. Some places, some sites might not have a lot of different terrain or hills, so they will make it maybe 1.25 miles just to add a little difficulty. Some places might have a bridge and a hill and a rocky area, and you know, they don't want to go any more than 1 mile. They've had enough challenge. And every site is different. You know, you could have big hills, small hills, but when you get the premium about the draft test to enter, it will give a description of the course in there, so you know what to expect, you know what type of apparatus would be appropriate for the site. There is always a description in the premium list. And when you finish the mile, now most judges will stop halfway point on the mile, let you give your dog a little pat, give them a drink. You can carry water along with you. You can bring it in a backpack or however you want to carry it. So they will let you stop, give your dog a pat. If it's a very warm test, they might stop more often. It's up to the judges how they want to handle it. But you can kind of juggle for position as you get out there, as long as the path is wide enough. Like usually they'll start in catalog order, but if this dog's faster, this dog's slower, you can kind of pass and juggle for position, and you don't have to try to follow a slow dog if you have a fast dog. So that kind of changes as you go along on the freight haul. And the only thing being judged on the freight haul is your control of the dog. They have to just kind of follow along. You go in the line and they follow along, and if you stop, you tell them to stop, they have to stop and wait, and you can't handle them, you can't handle the cart. If anything's wrong, something that looks like it needs a little adjusting or something, you'd have to ask the judge's permission to touch something on the cart or the harness or the dog.
Also, if your freight shifts, you can get disqualified too, right?
If it makes the cart unbalanced,
okay.
Yes. Yeah, if it makes the cart unbalanced. Or if it falls out, you know, that too. But the freight haul itself is just basically control. When we have our winter tests, one thing you have to ask the judge's permission, the snowballs form in between the dog's feet a lot. You know, the dog's warm, they're working, the snow starts to melt and we freeze in there, and you see your dog start to walk a little funny, you stop, you ask the judge's permission. If they're far away, you ask the steward to get the judge, and you ask if you can remove snowballs, because it's touching your dog, so you just have to ask permission. They will always let you remove the snowballs, but you have to ask the judge's permission first. Yes, good boy. You are a good boy. So does anybody have any other questions about equipment or training or the test itself?
God bless you, it's an awful lot of work.
The nice thing about draft work is you really can train for it by yourself. You know, we also do water rescue, and you have to have a lake and a boat and someone to row it and someone to drown, and you need a lot of people. Draft work you can really train for by yourself. At some point you want to get out and work them with other distraction around, because in a test there's going to be other dogs and things, but you can train. When my kids were little, I'd just stick them in the cart. They were the weight, and I could go off and, you know, even with the little kids at home, I was still able to train for draft work by myself. So that is one nice thing about it.
What was the website you said that was again?
The what?
The website that you said?
Dogworks.com. Dogworks.com has all the equipment, and they can give you advice. They have a video. Beth Ostrander is the person that started Dogworks years ago, and she made a video of dog training. And it goes through the step-by-step, and of course, you know, in the video she's got the dog showing you how to do it. And her video is very, very good. It really takes the steps necessary to train it properly. So I highly recommend her book to anyone for draft training. I mean the video, sorry, and that can be bought at dogworks.com.
And this is one of
And I'll try to get it up on our website.
This is the
A link.
This is the Dogworks. This is the card
Try to get a
that's
link on our
most often
website.
used by people in a draft test. Is the Dogworks cart that's right here. Why don't you come up into the shade? Come here. Come up into the shade a little bit. Okay.
Now he'll walk around alone
they
too,
do,
if you told him,
Yeah.
with the cart.
She got to be,
I can take him off leash, and he knows left, right, back, slow.
to
You
do
know,
that
he-
whole mile thing, he's off leash the whole
The whole
time.
mile,
Yeah.
they are off leash. They're just listening to you by voice
Right.
control. I can take him out and show you a little bit of the maneuvering that he will do.
By
But,
himself.
yep, and show you what he will do. But if anybody has any other questions, or, like I said, that's the Dogworks cart. You might want to feel that cart. The shafts are very, very heavy on that cart. They're actually too heavy. If someone uses this cart in a test, I recommend that they put a little counterweight in the back here, and it takes some of the weight off the front of these shafts. The ones they sell now have aluminum shafts. They don't sell them with these metal shafts anymore, and the aluminum shafts are fine. But these older carts, like if you were, maybe you were going to buy a used cart from someone, if you got the heavy metal shafts, you'd want to work your dog always with a little counterweight back here to balance those heavy shafts, so it's not always front heavy. It's something. This is a cart that was homemade by a man out in the West Coast, and a lot of people on the West Coast use this cart. It's very, very maneuverable. It's got wheelchair wheels. The nice tall wheels. They're very, very maneuverable. Actually, this needs some new wheels. They're getting kind of beat up, but but it's a nice cart. It's very, very maneuverable, which is what I like about it. And the other thing that I use on my cart is this is I think I bought this like in Toys R Us. It's a little bag meant to put under the seat of a bicycle to put tools in or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And I keep extra washers or wing nuts, the cotter pins, a wrench, poop bags, any little extra things that I might want to have with me when I'm out working or in a test. I keep them right there, and it's really nice. Because if something breaks in a test, you've got 10 minutes to fix it and make it work again. So you haven't failed at that point. You've got 10 minutes to get it working again. So it's always good to have a little bit of extra equipment with you so you can fix anything that might go wrong.